Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of God Built This Podcast. I'm your host, Maxine, and we're on episode 166. All right. Where do we begin with these topics? Let's start off with B. Simone. B. Simone, for those who may not be familiar with her, she started her career online on Instagram with her short clips and just very dramatic and expressive reactions to dating, to ain't shit niggas, and she's known for the saying baby girl, baby girl. There's something else that she said, I just can't remember, but there's like certain isms that she created that has been her language that surrounds her. So she is now a comedian. She has shows of her own. She says she opened up for Chris Rock at one point. And what's interesting about these like internet like personalities who turn into full-time comedians, they don't do it the typical trajectory of comedians, right? Like they don't start off by open mics. They don't start off by like just sewing in their time by having a room for 4 people performing a 5-minute set. Instead, she kind of jump started and has a strong following because of her social media presence. So that really helped her. Same thing with T.I. Like, he's not in the same trajectory typically has many comedians who like started from the regular way to start, right? And because of that, there's a lot of strife between an internet comic who turned into like a comedian and wants to be respected versus a stand-up comic who really like just went through the challenges, went through the ups and downs of being a comic. They didn't have a strong following in the beginning. They didn't have the money to really support their comedic lifestyle, and so they had to work a waitressing job. They had to work as a bouncer. They had to do other things to supplement their life while they pursue their career of a stand-up comic. But there's privilege behind being able to garner a strong social media presence or a strong music career like T.I. and then generate that into a comedian's success per se. So to say that, she claims she's a comedian. I'm not gonna take that away from her. That's one of her dreams that she wants to pursue and continue to pursue. She has every right to do that. Same for T.I., but there's like a different level in comparison to a B. Simone, to a Monique, or to a Wanda Sykes, or to, comedians like that. But anyway, so she is known a lot, more so primarily for her social media presence. And she's been on Wild 'N Out for a while. I don't watch that show, but I know she's been on it. And she's leveraged all of that for her to just really begin or just really thrive off of her entrepreneurial spirit. She not recently, but a little while ago, she released a book called, I forget the title, but it was basically about manifestation and how because of manifesting, she was able to create the life that she wanted. And there was a lot of controversy around the book because when her customers ordered the book, it wasn't like a legit book. It was a pamphlet. It had binders on it. Like it had binder rings on it. And it just wasn't like a real fucking book, It had like but it, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't one of those books where if it's a workbook, then say that, right? But she didn't say that. It was just unclear what type of book it was. And when some people received it, it's just the material, the quality of it was poor. So she got a lot of backlash for that. So there's that. There's another comment there's a comment that she said a while ago about wanting that she would rather be with a drug dealer than a 9 to 5 man. Now, on instant, right, your reaction is going to be like, wait, what? Like, you rather be with a criminal? You rather be with someone who could put your life at risk? You rather be with someone who's unstable? You got to be with someone who, no shot to drug dealers. But you know what I mean? Like, there's a risk to dating one, right? There's a risk to feel like, well, look, you really riding or dying. Like, it's risque. But there's a thrill to it. And if you're one of those girls who like that bad boy aesthetic, if you like a man who may not be available as soon as you text him, may not be available if you wanted to hang out for the weekend and go away to San Antonio for a quick trip, right? You have to really just be available at their call. And if you're the type of girl who likes that, then then that suits you. But if you want and the thing is, like, sometimes when you want that bad boy aesthetic, that ooh, he's a thug, ooh, you see his tattoos, all of that, optically it's attractive, right? It's like that mysterious boy man who appears as if they don't have a heart. It appears as if they don't really have feelings and they don't care about anything in this world. But wow, they care about you, and you feel special, and you feel like, oh, I'm the girl who changed him. I'm the girl who he decided to love. So, right. So there's that conquest mentality too. Like, I could get you to love me, or I'm going to get you to love me, and I'm going to stick it out until you love me. And we're going to really be Bonnie and Clyde together. But that shit gets old, right? Like, I think after some time, you desire stability. Like, you desire someone who you could contact. Like, can I talk to you today? Or do I gotta wait until I get, a notification from your mans, and then I could call you at 9:15 only? Like, what type of communication, what type of relationship, what type of life are we going to have if it's always at your call? If it's always one-sided, if I always gotta be available to you when it's never reciprocal, if it's just, that's really the lifestyle of that. And depending on how big of a drug dealer you are, you could really put yourself at, like, the woman could really be put at risk, because now she is clearly a target, right? Especially if she's someone who is publicly with him. She frequents at his house, he goes over to her house, or they live together. His goons, or no, like, not his goons, because goons will mean that, like, that's his crew, right? But anyway, his enemies will spot that eventually, and say if he gets into just an argument with somebody off the block, and now you're at risk because, oh, your man got someone else, in trouble, or made someone feel embarrassed, and now they have to show him who the man is, so they're gonna lock you up, or they're going to put a knife to your neck. I know it sounds so dramatic, but I feel like these things are actual situations, are actual circumstances that one may have to experience if they are in a relationship, one that is serious, with a drug dealer. So, it gets cute in the beginning, but then it's like, hold on, why is there a gun right next to me on the bed? Like, why is there a gun on the bedside table every night? You need that? Why is there a gun under my pillow, babe? It's a lot. It's a lot going on. And I think after a while, you have to say to yourself, hey, I may want children one day, and I don't know if I want to raise my kid in this lifestyle. And it's one of those lifestyles that I don't know if you just, like, die in it. Like, how do you just tell your drug kingpin guy, hey, I'm out, right? Don't you have to buy yourself out of it? I don't know how it works. Like, I'm clearly a square. Ooh. I remember I was dating this guy, and I was just like being myself. Like I was, myself, the way y'all hear me in your ears right now. And the guy was clearly hood, clearly a nigga, and was just like, oh wow, you a square. Oh wow, like it was just like this revelation came upon him. And I'm just on the phone like, oh yeah, like I don't, what do you mean? Like I am who I am, right? I'm not trying to be one of your hood chicks who's a rider for you. Like, no, I need to get home by a certain time, sir. You need to drop me off. Or I don't like when you drive so fast like that on the road. Like, some things I'm just not like fascinated by. I remember one time I was at Boston Bay's house, and there was a wad of cash on a console table. And like it was literally just standing there, and it was a wad. You know how you have that money phone, right? Literally like a stack of dollars or stack of fives, sprinkled in. But it was a wad of cash wrapped up or like put together with an elastic band, and just chilling on his console table. And I noticed it instantly. Like, I notice things quickly. I don't necessarily need to call it out, but it's noted in my head. And I remember walking into the room and I saw that, and I'm like, okay, is someone gonna come in and collect the money? Like, what's going on? But I didn't bring it up because it's not my water cash, right? You're not giving me money from that. Like, it's really none of my business until you make it my business. But I'm not gonna ask because I quite frankly don't care. Like, some things, here's the thing about me, like, I really don't care until you like bring it to me. But like, genuinely, I don't care. Like, I'm not like thinking about what every little part of your day looks like, or at least for him. Like with Boston Bay, it was very much so, because it was so unstable, I had to redirect my thoughts elsewhere. I couldn't really spend much time, or I couldn't allow myself to spend more time into overdrive when thinking about what he's doing. Why isn't he texting me right now? I wonder what he's doing today. It's like, no, I had to teach myself to just be in the moment, and when I'm not with him, I'm not with him, right? Like, it's an out of sight, out of mind thing. Anyway, so I see the water cash, and I see it there, but I'm not like making it obvious. We're watching TV, and then he brings it up, and he says, oh, over there I have $7,000. I'm like, okay. Like, okay. What, like, you have it in dirty ass dollar bills, dirty ass couple of $5 in it. Like, what that mean? Like, it, and he said it with so much oomph. Like, yeah, I got $7,000, right? Sitting right there in that wad of cash. I was just so unimpressed. And look, I know I come on here a lot and I talk about, like, money means nothing, and I'm like, it does mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I want more money. Fuck, it does bring happiness, it brings joy, it brings peace. I really do believe that, and I really just hate when people be like, oh, money doesn't bring happiness. Yes, it does. If you're stressed about how you're gonna pay this bill, if you're stressed about, being able to make this payment, or reaching your savings goals, or being able to purchase this item to better your business, or whatever it is, or being able to make an expense, or wondering, oh shit, is my car gonna go through? Because I don't know about y'all, I'm the type of person, I don't check my bank account. I just hope and pray it goes through this time. Like, and most times it does go through, but sometimes there'll be moments when I'm like, oh shit, I should have checked. But I don't like check. It's a thing, and we'll talk about it another time. But anyway, I don't like checking. But either way, like, I am not in agreement with that statement. Like, oh, money doesn't bring you happy. Yes, it does. It fucking does. It makes me thrilled. Like, I am happy when I get an extra 120, whatever it is. If I get extra of what I expected, oh, I'm happy. If I get a sale deal, oh, I'm happy. You know, if I got this for free, oh, I'm happy. You know how happy we get when we learn, oh, this is free, this meal is free, or oh, this food is here. We don't have to pay. Like, oh, the food is included. Like, all that is exciting because you realize how much you spend in order to live, right? In order to survive in this world. And so when there's an opportunity that comes that allows for you to not spend any money, oh, I'm grateful. I'm over the moon. I'm dancing when I'm eating. I'm dancing and emphasizing. And shout out to the game. Yeah, but the point is, it does bring happiness. It does bring joy. It lessens your stress. Of course, it's not the only thing, right? You know, you have to be happy within yourself. You have to be happy in your identity. All these, all of that is true, and it brings me joy. Money brings me joy. But nonetheless, when Boston Bay told me it was $7,000, I could tell in his face he was expecting me to be like, oh, you got money. Like, oh, that's nice. Like, I feel like he was expecting me to really just be overly excited and just like so turned on, like, oh, go ahead, Big Daddy, you know, stuff like that. And I gave that nigga no excitement, no care in the world. I'm like, okay. Like he told me the food was on the way. Like, okay. Like he told me, oh, the new movie's out. You want to watch it? Yeah, okay. Like, like, and then I think he said, yeah, that's a lot of money, right? I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah. And mind you, I'm saying it just like the way I'm saying it to y'all. Like, I'm shrugging. I'm barely like intrigued. Like, it's not really a big deal because, one, is that money for me? Like, it's not even for me. You know what I mean? Like, he never, like, it's not like you gave me money. It's not like you're spotting me for the month, or like, it was nothing that benefited me. You know what I mean? And not to sound selfish, but like, I gained nothing from it. So why do I really care? Like, and the way he showed it to me did not look presentable. Like, it was just very unimpressive. Like, ew, you have these dirty ass, dollar bills in front of me, and you counting them up, and it's $7,000. Like, okay. And that was when he told me, first, at that time, he didn't reveal to me he was a drug dealer. The lie that he told me was, oh, he got it through real estate. He sells or helps sells houses or whatever. And again, at that time, like I said, I really don't care. I really don't care. I'm just here for you. I'm just here with you at the moment because I had to train myself to not be so heavily attached or attached to him at all, so that I didn't really care about what he did outside of me. I didn't really put much stock into just like his dealings because he was just so unstable. That was my way of protecting myself. So I didn't really care to investigate like how you made that through real estate, or why do you have it in cash. And it just wasn't a thing that I felt the need to investigate. And I think he hated that too. Like, he wanted me to show more emotion and, be more like emotionally vulnerable, but I knew I couldn't with him because the brief times that I did show vulnerability, I was just smacked in my face metaphorically by him. And so, of course, my reaction is now going to have this guard up if I'm going to deal with you. So that's what I did. So yeah, I just showed no care in the world. And he said that whole lie, oh, you got it through real estate, but afterwards he did tell me that he does drug deal on the side. That sounds so like square, like, he does drug deal, yeah, on the side. But anyway, the point of what I'm saying is, like, drug dealers, though they may show this wad of cash, or flash this jewelry, or they may drive the fancy cars, or they may have all of the like latest designer stuff, it's like, okay, and you're not a nice person. Like, what about that? Like, you don't actually care about me. Like, You're not kind. You yell at me sometimes, and a lot of times we don't have great conversation. You really don't give a fuck about me. So am I supposed to be like turned on because of your wad of cash? No, I'm not some simple bitch. Anyway, B. Simone made these comments because she thought, and she stood on the fact that with a drug dealer, he would be able to complement her entrepreneurial self, because as an entrepreneur, like, you don't have regular 9 to 5 hours, right? You don't have a lunch break. You don't wake up at 7 in the morning and get back to work, or get back home at 5 or 3 or 4 o'clock. Like, you don't have that typical stability. And being with someone who is opposite of that, there's going to be a level of conflict and just friction that you will have to navigate. You have to explain yourself, why are you still out, or why are you still working? It's been 12 hours already. Come home, or, turn off the computer, or just like be with me. And there's a lack of understanding, right? And maybe there's not enough patience or care to want to make that opposite work life person to want to understand your entrepreneurial lifestyle. I get that. I absolutely get that. But I think, didn't I just put my phone on D&D? I think, I agree with that in the sense of, I think entrepreneurs maybe should be with entrepreneurs. Like, I think, just like I think creatives should be with creatives. I think 9-to-5ers probably should be with a 9-to-5 person, right? And maybe both you guys have creative interests, activities, or hobbies that you explore. But at the very least, I think there should be a wavelength that both parties should be on in order to have a successful anything. And when you're intimate with someone, when you're romantic with someone, and there is just a foundational difference of how you view life, of how you make money, of how you think and process, then ultimately the relationship will not work out. So I think that demonstrates itself by, if you're an entrepreneur and you're with someone who only thinks in linear lines, who only thinks within a box, right? If you're a fucking Democrat, or you're just someone who just can't fathom how a black person could vote for Trump. It's like, get your fucking mind out of the gut. Like, get your mind out the clouds and think for yourself, right? Or you're someone who just don't understand how you could be against the vaccine. It's like, okay. Like, there's so many, like, ways to look at it. And, okay, there's another example that I have. Not a drug dealer, because this nigga is definitely not a drug dealer. And I don't know if he listens to my pod. There was one time he said, I was talking to someone, a colleague, and she, I think I just like casually mentioned, I talk about this on my podcast. And I try not to say that. Like, I try to like talk about my podcast in a way that's just like natural. Like, I don't necessarily like, please listen. I don't know. I feel weird about stuff like that. But hey, tell a friend to tell a friend. But anyway, I was just talking about, I just recently talked about that on my podcast, and I was just like debunking these beliefs. So, I'm just like going in, right? And she's like, oh my gosh, you have a podcast? Da, da, da. And this person, he knew, he already knew that I had a podcast. I think I told him that I have a podcast. And I think I told him or mentioned it to him. Yeah, I did. And what he say? He was like, yeah, she has a podcast. It's really good. So I don't know if he listened. I don't want to whisper right now, but whatever. Hey, what's up if you listen? Anyway, the point of what I'm saying is, this nigga's corny as fuck. Let's start there. Like, very, very, like, just like, how I was called a square by that drug dealer? He's rectangle, like, he's every like odd shape, like he's a trapezoid, like he's all of that. No, but he's a square. He's definitely a square, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, be who you are. And he's just like a fucking square. Like, some people just like annoyingly a square. Like, just like you're an annoying square. Like you're just someone who's just like very much just like rigid and just like I don't know. Like anyway, there was one time I was hanging out. It was a few of us, and we was talking about. No, he mentioned one time he was hanging out with some white people, and he was saying how that white person was like talking about how much he appreciates Trump and how much he like was like just really, just campaigning for him. He voted for him and just like MAGA all the way. And once he realized that, he was like so turned off, and he was so much just like so in disbelief that how could someone vote for Trump and they go on this like this whole like just like rhetoric of if you're a Trumper, right? If you voted for Trump, then that means you're a bad person immediately, right? That there's no there could never be any nuance to why one will vote for Trump, right? It's just if you vote for him, you are just a certified racist. You don't care about black people. You only care about white privilege and preserving that. And yeah, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? What? And if you're a black person who votes for Trump, you're a sellout, yada yada yada. And I say all this to say, like, I don't like, there was a lot of things that Donald Trump said during his campaign and during his presidency that I did not agree with, that didn't look good, that wasn't politically correct. I'm not into the whole politically correct speech anyway, but he did lack couth. Right, is couth the word? Let me look it up real quick. Like looking up shit when I say it. Yeah, he did like couth. He wasn't well-mannered. He wasn't refined. When you come from the optics of Barack Obama to Donald Trump is like very, very much of a difference. And so it's a hard pill to swallow. Now, because of that hard pill to swallow, there was a reluctancy and immediate hate if you even dare to agree with anything that Donald Trump said. If you even agreed to, hey, since he's been in office, there's been a lot of economic opportunities made available suddenly for these 4 years. Like, if you even said that, and even though that was true for a certain period, even if you like presented the facts, even if you shared your anecdote of that truth, it was still diminished. It was still discouraged for you to share that. And so this guy, he was like, so just like astonished that one could vote for Trump. And I was being who I am. So I'm like, I'm sitting here listening to him say this. And immediately I'm rolling my eyes, like in my head. I try not to like show that rolling eye look that I give sometimes. But I get it. It's rude, right? But it's like when you I just hate linear ass mindsets, right? I hate when you just immediately think in order to go to C, you have to go through B. Like, no, you can make a detour and, jump over B, or get to D and then circle back to C. Like, there's different ways to reach a point. There's not just one way to think about something, and there's not just one belief that if you vote for this polarizing figure, then that means you're immediately this negative label, and I just don't like when people just get so wrapped up in the optics and they don't do their own research and have a mind of their own. So that's really what grinds my gears. It's not that I'm supporting Trump. It's not that I'm supporting everything that he said or the Trump administration. There was a lot of things that I disagreed with, but I think when there's this like immediate shutdown of not even trying to hear both sides. Remember when Ice Cube I was get Ice-T and Ice Cube confused. But when Ice Cube went to speak with Donald Trump during his presidency to discuss ways to bridge the gap between the white community and the black community, and to gather resources to uplift the black community. Like, he was obviously doing things to uplift the Black communities in many different ways. He was presenting these ideas. He was coming forward to Trump with these ideas. They were having conversations, and he was standing on that very, very firmly. And as soon as the Black community and these Black boule media outlets caught wind of Ice Cube speaking with Donald Trump, oh, we're calling him coon now. Oh, we're calling Ice Cube a sellout because he's speaking to Donald Trump. It's like, what the fuck else should he be doing? Like, if he's doing it in a way to bring forth an uplift in the Black community, a rising in the economic power for the Black community, why are we mad? Like, this immediate shutdown of don't talk to them, don't talk to the Republicans. Like, do you guys even know how the Democratic Party started? They were a bunch of racist fucks. And then somehow they turned around and became this like liberal wokeism. And if you're not Black, you're not Black if you don't vote Democrat. Ooh, that sounds like a nice rap. You're not Black if you don't vote Democrat. You're not Black if you don't vote Democrat. Gotta get the beat right. But the point is the point. Like, these like linear ways of thinking is just very like it's cringy. At the very least, it's very cringy. So anyway, so when this guy was talking about like, yeah, he's a Trump supporter, blah, 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 I had to be like, well, not everyone who's a Trump supporter is a racist, though. You know that, right? Call me condescending Maxine, okay? Call me that, because sometimes I gotta talk in a tone to meet your childish ass point of view. Sometimes I have to speak down to you because you be talking so stupid. Are you stupid? You stupid. Everybody who voted for Trump is a racist. Shut up. Okay, how did I get to him? Anyway, B. Simone wants to date drug dealers. And I'm here to tell you, though I understand her premise in this argument, I think though a drug dealer is not where you go with it. Like, I think also she knows how to play the media, and she knows the outrage gets her attention, it gets her more follows, it gets her more just exposure. So it's a game ultimately. Like, everything is fucking currency at this point. Outrage, fear, sex, all of that makes money. So anyway, but ultimately I think she just means she wants someone who's an entrepreneur like her. She wants someone who's not in the 9-to-5 lifestyle, and there's no shot to that. I think that's okay. Like, there's space for 9-to-5 and there's space for entrepreneurs. Like, we don't have to be, like, you don't have to look like an entrepreneur in order to be seen as successful. Like, this whole idea of, oh, you have to be an entrepreneur. Like, oh, you working for the man? Oh, you don't got your own business. It's like, shut the fuck up. Some people like clocking in. It sounds so shady. I haven't clocked in a while, okay? Remember I told you guys there's like this system at my job where like you like press your card key against this thing on the wall, and you do it every time you enter the building and every time you leave, right? You clock in and you clock out. Is this HEB? Are we at ShopRite? Is this Stop and Shop? Like, no, I'm not clocking in because I'm paid on salary. That's why. I get paid regardless if I clock in or not. So no. But anyway, I'm sorry talking about job. About my job. But the point is like you have that mentality of like 9-to-5, or just like this like sheep-like mentality where, no one questions the decision made before you just go with it, right? Because there's this fear, if you don't go with it, then maybe my job is on the line. Maybe I'm not able to continue in this role because I'm not clocking in. Shut up. I wish you would say something to me. I wish you would. But anyway, let's get back to this B. Simone thing. So that's a quick background, detailed info on who she is, things that she said in the past, the controversy that surrounds her, and I think the intentionality behind it. Again, it's about exposure. It's about currency. It's about how can I gain more exposure? How can I gain more followers and just a stronger audience and a wider reach? Oh, I'm going to say something very crazy. So though she may agree, she may really do believe that she would rather be with a drug dealer, right? She may really believe that. I think though, the premise of what she's saying, at least I'm giving her credit, but the premise of what she's saying is just that entrepreneurs is better with another entrepreneur, and a 9-to-5 is better with another 9-to-5, and that I do agree with, not the drug dealer part. But anyway, I'm gonna play a clip for you all to listen to, and we'll discuss. Let's discuss afterwards.
What's more important, the fact that Martin Luther King is the man that fought for freedom, or the fact that he was cheating on his wife?
Jesus. I'm gonna give you this example. He's a great father. He's a great businessman. He's a great CEO. He's an entrepreneur. He's such a boss.
He's a boss.
Look at that man. He's a boss.
Look at him.
He's a great father. Look at him, that strong black man.
Look at him being at his kid's game.
But you're cheating on your wife. You're not a good husband. But he's great in all these other aspects. How are you a great leader, a great CEO, a great black man? You're not great.
You're
not great. God, you're not. That is triggering.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a good dad. You're not a good dad because you don't respect me. How the fuck you showing these kids you a good father and you don't respect their mother? You're not a great dad, my nigga. You're an okay human.
Someone being a good person to you means they're a good person to you. Someone being a good person to everyone means that they're a good person.
Okay, let's break this down. Y'all don't know how long it took me to fucking input that clip. A good 30 minutes. The YouTube converter that I use suddenly the site was no longer found. I guess maybe it's illegal to do this, but whatever. Figured it out, and there you have it. You heard that clip from B. Simone and her fellow podcast co-host. That's a clip from their podcast, and this clip is obviously going viral, and there's a lot of reactions to it because you have B. Simone, who's not really I gave you guys a whole description of who she is, and just some insight of the type of person she is just off of the surface level. And for her to make a disparaging comment about one of our revered civil rights leader, right? One of who I think is the only black man who has a holiday after him. That is very powerful. And whether you agreed with his tactics of combating civil injustice and combating racism and all of that, and maybe you were more of a Malcolm X than a MLK guy, that whole argument. And I get that, but I also feel like regardless of where you stood politically or what type of black activist you would be back in the 1960s. People are so quick to be like, oh, if I was there, I would have never been a slave. Nope, you wouldn't have caught me. I would have fought against my oppressors. That white man would have got this black fist up his ass. It's yeah, but no. You also have to recognize, you're not going in there with the mindset and the wherewithal of 2022 you. You're going in there with the same mindset of everyone who was of that majority mindset of, well, look, I'm a slave. This is what it is. I have to abide by massa, and that's what it is. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of people who fought against and who were warriors, and not to say those who weren't warriors, but there were different calibers of people back then who did fight, who did try, Nat Turner. There's so many people who fought against and risked their lives of their loved ones because they decided to speak up and say, no, I'm not taking this anymore. No, I want to sit down. I don't want to continue to slave in the fields today. I'm tired, my back hurts, and for that they got whipped, for that they got embarrassed and ridiculed, for that they got their wives taken away from them and raped in front of them. Like this. Anyway, where was I going with this? MLK. Now, you know, for the past few years, because this definitely wasn't a story when I was growing up and when I was learning about MLK, Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who's an alumni of Boston University, same grad school that I went to. But anyway, this whole like story and revelation that he was an infidel, that he did not remain faithful to his wife for a couple of years in their marriage. I mean, I don't know how long, but there's a lot of proof seemingly that he was unfaithful to his wife, to Coretta Scott King, and that he may have even hopped into some snow bunnies. Like, I don't know. Oh my gosh, let me tell you guys, my mind has been rocked the past 2 or 3 days because something that I watched on YouTube revealed to me, well, this person who, I don't know if she's telling the truth. I think she may be, because I'd never seen Tariq Nasheed's wife, and I know he's married. I know he has kids, and he talks about his wife and his kids. Like, I like, that's not like a mystery, but it's never been shown, oh, this is my beautiful wife, or these are my beautiful kids, right? Like, it was just like something that he says he has, and I just assume that he has it, right? And for all the black talk, you know, black rights, you know, black power rhetoric that he spews, one would assume that he's married to a black woman, right? Wrong. I don't know why I fall for this every time. Just like a Kendrick Lamar. Like, he, you know, he's so quick to be like, you know, we gonna be all right. Nah, we might do all this like black power and, you know your worth, queen, know your worth, king. And it's like, but you married who again? Who's that white woman on your album cover? Okay, she's not white, but she's not black. Let's stop. Oh, she's from Cape Verde. That's the best. I have a cousin who dated, for a period of time, he used to only date exotic black women. Shout out to him. I'm not gonna say his name in case he don't want to be called out. But hey guys, he used to only date exotic black women. And I say exotic meaning like they weren't black Americans, and unfortunately Haitian women weren't considered exotic. When I was growing up, I don't think they're considered exotic now, but for the most part, you know, you think of exotic, you think of like loose textured hair, you think of fairer skin, you think of maybe you're half white, like maybe you're visibly half white because your skin is much lighter than one who is not half white from a direct parent. But either way, he's the only date like just these exotic black women. I remember one time there was one of his girlfriends for that week. We're like, why you always date? You always bring home some white bitch, you know, always get at him. And he used to date like all his history. There was like a lot of white girls in there. But anyway, he would say for this non-black woman he dated at one point, his explanation, like, oh, she is black. She's from Egypt. Like, she's actually really black. She's like really like, you know, like she's from the motherland black. It's like, yeah, but no. I'm talking about like one of, you know, people that you grew up with, not somebody from out there. Like, you know, I think sometimes there's this like idea of like, if you're a black woman, you have to be like super pretty, super like out of the box to be considered desirable. This whole like desirability politics for black women is such a standard to live up to, because such a high standard to live up to, because if you didn't meet that exotic box of beauty, then you were considered average at best. And especially if you were someone who had kinkier textured hair, or, you know, darker skin, or wider nose, like if you didn't have clearly European-like features, then you weren't considered beautiful. You were very much so that average black bitch over there. So anyway, I brought that up to say Tariq Nasheed has a white wife, according to something that I watched a couple of days ago. And I don't know if she's white. Let me not say white, but non-black, right? So maybe she's Hispanic or Spanish. I'm gonna start saying Spanish now, because fuck y'all for saying, oh no, it's not, Spanish is politically incorrect because Spanish means you're from Spain. No, Judge Joe Brown said differently. That was something that I watched recently, and he said, like, no, it's like your ethnic background. Like, I forgot how he explained it, but it made sense. And it was never this, like, growing up, it was never this, like, disrespectful thing to say, oh, she's Spanish. Like, it was just, she's fucking Spanish, right? Like, oh, Spanish could mean you're Puerto Rican. Like, it just was this, like, general pool that you fit in. This whole, like, Latino, like, what the fuck? That was never a thing growing up. Are you Spanish? Shit. I don't know if that's an East Coast thing. I really don't know. But since I moved to Houston, it was a correction that I noticed. Like, oh, you mean she's Hispanic? Do you mean she's Latino? No, bitch. I said Spanish. I said Espanol. That's what I said. And she speaks it too. Like, that's what I said. B. Simone said these comments. And you know what's interesting about, like, this idea of you can't be a man of integrity if you cheat on your wife, right? I'm laughing because it's actually funny. Look, I think, like, can we get over it? Like, can we just, like, stop? Like, I think we need to, like, dead the word cheating. Like, I'm tired of this word. I'm tired of, oh, you just can't be, like, you just can't understand how one could cheat on their spouse. Right? You can't fathom how he crept on you, how he left you, or how he's been sneaking out on you. You just can't understand, because a good man would never. I don't believe that. Maybe I'm biased, but I really don't. I just feel like there's a nuance to everything, and I think ultimately you shouldn't what's the word? You shouldn't, like, put value on a man or describe their character based off of how he is romantically. Like, that has nothing to do with anything. I feel like it has nothing to do with anything, because for MLK, right? If you look outside of his moments of infidelity with his wife, look, I don't know the details. I don't know how long it lasted. I don't know if he really was sneaking around with some snow bunnies. I don't know. But what I do know is the story has been out for a while now. It wasn't something that I was aware of growing up, learning about MLK. But the past couple of years, it's been more attached to his legacy. It's like his legacy is now being tainted because, well, he was an unfaithful man. So? So. Okay, he had women on the side. So what? Like, why does this have to take away from the work that he did? Right? Why does it have to take away from the holiday that was created based off of him because of the incredible work that he did to push us further in our civil rights movement? Like, why does that even have to have a point in conversation? Like, we're missing the point. J. Edgar Hoover, like, got away with it now because during the time when it was revealed, because when MLK was alive, he was being tapped. The FBI was on him, and CIA, I want to say. But either way, the government was listening in on his conversations. They were recording him when he wasn't aware. They were following him. He was just target number one because of the impact that he had upon the community and upon the world and upon the country. Like, it was massive. It was a great impact. And so they wanted to keep tabs on him. And while keeping tabs on him, they were able to figure out that, hey, he's not always with Coretta. Hey, he's seeing someone else, or couple other people. And hey, he's not this upstanding moral preacher that he presents himself as. And there was a letter that Hoover sent to MLK saying, like, you might as well just off yourself. You might as well just kill yourself now, because we know that you're cheating on your wife. We know that that you're not this like principled guy that you portray, and you know you're dead. You might as well just go ahead and kill yourself, because no one's going to respect you. No one's going to follow you anymore after we reveal this. And I mean, thankfully MLK was not affected by this or threatened by this. Instead, he just continued doing what he did until he was assassinated, of course. But either way, it wasn't enough for him to feel like he should be shamed. Like, there was no cancel culture back then. You know, just so fucking like retarded that we live in a world now where we're canceling our civil rights leaders who did incredible work, and you're mad at him for cheating on his wife. Like, that has nothing to do with you. Like, hello? We don't know what type of arrangement they had. And I'm being dead ass. We don't know what type of arrangement they had. And there was a point that I noticed in a couple of movies of MLK that Coretta was made aware of his infidelity. And I don't know how long she knew prior to her making this point publicly, but she said something to the effect of, that's not big enough. Like, no, she was like, the movement, what he's doing is bigger than this indiscretion, basically. Like, his impact in the civil rights movement is bigger than us discussing him stepping out on me. Like, we shouldn't even talk about this. It's not a focus point. I'm not gonna make a statement about our marriage. It was not one of those things that it needed to be discussed. Like, it just was what it was. But we're not looking at that. I'm gonna stand beside him because he's a good man. He's a good man, Savannah, and he's doing incredible work. So let's focus on the incredible work part. So you had this appearance of a wife who still stuck beside him. I mean, it's not even like, you know how politicians nowadays, or even just for a stint for a while, it's been politician after politician who were caught in public for cheating on their wives, whether with a man or a woman. Like, it was one of those stories, and they would have a press conference announcement stating, yes, I did cheat on my wife, or I was committing infidelity, and my wife, I pained her, and I'm so, you know, and you see the wives just like weak in the background, but she's standing beside him, and she's presenting this one army, one band, one song unity in front of us for the public eye. And to us, it comes off a little disingenuous because we could kind of see the woman just withering away in her background. But in this case with Coretta Scott King and Martin Luther King Jr., there wasn't these moments of announcements discussing what is taking place within their marriage. Like, what? Can we get back to that? Like, can we get back to not having to have an announcement of what's going on in your marriage? I get it, you're in the public eye. I get it, you know, you're a celebrity of some sort. But I think, you know, when there was a moment in time when that wasn't even a consideration of thought. Like, that wasn't even something that needed to be discussed. Like, what are we talking about? Let's talk about his incredible work. Let's talk about the speech and the sermons that he delivered that uplifted Black people to recognize their power and to stand up for themselves and to fight against oppression, and to create policies and push forward policies that could help uplift the community. Like, let's focus on that. Not talking about, oh, well, MLK, you were a bad boy for a couple of years now in your marriage, right? Like, what are we talking about? So, you know, going back to the statements that B. Simone made, is like, again, with what I know I say this a lot, but two things can be true. Like, you can be an infidel, right? And still be a good man. Like, you could still be a good leader, right? Like, it doesn't, your marital business is between you and your spouse. It has nothing to do with how effective you were and how impactful you were as a leader. this should not hold any bearing to that. Like, why are we even having a discussion of their private life? Instead, let's focus on what was public, his incredible work, what was public, the marches and the methods and the conversations that he had, and the unity and the gatherings that he created. And like, there's so many things to focus on that actually makes sense. But to go on, and disparage his name and say that he wasn't a good leader, and then he wasn't a good man, he was okay. It's like, girl, shut the fuck up, dog. Like, and I think what's interesting about that is, like, we're so quick to talk bad about the deceased. I mean, what happened to respecting the dead? Or what happened to fearing the dead? Like, I think it's become rather scary to live now in this world where we're casually tapping into the life of the dead, or none, not life, I guess, but just the dead's world. Like, we're casually tapping into our ancestors. And I'm not to say like there's no value in that, but I think sometimes we forget that they're dead, right? Like, and I'm saying that respectfully. Like, we forget that every time we tap into the spiritual world and the world of the dead, we're allowing ourselves to be used as a portal for the dead to access and to use as a vessel. We are spiritual beings in a physical body, right? And so when we are continuously tapping into different activities, or different portals, or different just things, right? Like, it could be as simple as a palm reading, right? We get addicted to wanting to tap into things that we shouldn't really be tapping into. We really shouldn't be talking to our ancestors every fucking day. I mean, respectfully, I think there's certain times you can, of course, but I think sometimes, like, there was something that I read or listened to earlier that said Will Smith had an ayahuasca ceremony 14 times in a year. Now, I don't know when this took place, like what year it was. Was it last year? Was it this year already? Like, I don't know. But he had it 14 times. Now, for those who may not be aware of what ayahuasca is, let's define it. So ayahuasca is a South American psychoactive brew used both socially and as ceremonial spiritual medicine among the indigenous peoples of the Amazon basin. It's used for the purpose of getting yourself connected to your higher self, right? Maybe you're stressed about life, or maybe you're experiencing an addiction that you can't break from, and you want to have an outer body experience. Ayahuasca is a way to experience that. And the scary thing about ayahuasca is that one may get so addicted to diving into a realm that's not reality, and they, by doing so, are opening themselves as a portal for spirits that are dead to enter in and use you as a vessel. And I know this sounds like very like womp womp, like ooh, type of thing, but these things are real. Like, we have to stop acting like these things are something to be played with. Like, we have to stop acting like curiosity don't get us into trouble, don't get us into some mess. Like, it's not for the faint of heart. So for Will Smith to have had an ayahuasca experience 14 times, like, nigga, what's going on psychoactively with you? Like, what's going on? There was a period in time when I thought I was going to purchase marijuana, specifically Delta 8 marijuana. And it's funny because I make it sound so like, what is it? Like, very professional. There was a time I was going to purchase Delta 8 marijuana. Are you aware of this? Like, yo, we live in a time where we could really order marijuana online and have it shipped to us and not get arrested and not get tracked and not get our, jobs taken away. Oh my gosh, free all of the people who are jailed because they had an ounce of marijuana on them or whatever it is. But let's talk about what Delta 8 is. Delta 8, what is it, right? So Delta 8 THC is Delta 8 tetrahydrocannabinol. Okay, it is a psychoactive substance found in the cannabis sativa plant. And I was going to purchase this because with my endometriosis, I experienced sometimes, which has been better lately, my body, and I try not to sit in, oh, I feel great, I feel like amazing, because next day it's like, oh my gosh, chronic pain. But I do have to say, my chronic pain has lessened. I don't know why or how this has happened, but I'm grateful. But don't get me wrong, I do have some minor pains, and I do recognize that there are certain things that impact that pain or, trigger that pain. Nonetheless, I was looking in the community that I'm in online, that all consist of women who has endometriosis. They were saying how a great way to help remedy their physical pain, and also I was experiencing and still am experiencing, when I eat food, I don't necessarily feel it. I don't feel it in my stomach. I don't feel it really digesting. It just feels like I'm eating because it's what I'm supposed to do. It's a technical thing, but it doesn't really impact me. It's okay, I have to eat, but I don't really feel it, and my appetite's not really there anymore. For a while I couldn't taste my food. I don't think it was C19 or whatever, but anyway, they said Delta 8 is a great way to help remedy all of those symptoms, the symptoms of lack of appetite, nausea, physical pain, because it helps. The Delta 8 apparently helps relax your muscles and all of that. And I was like, okay, well, maybe this is a great way for me to just help remedy these symptoms that I experience. And, instead of me popping pills and sometimes getting a solution from it or sometimes not, maybe this is a great way that's natural, quote unquote. And I was really about to purchase it, and I still have the website linked in my phone just in case I finally do follow through with purchasing it. But I stopped from doing so because it said psychoactive. And what scares me about that is, I'm not trying to have an outer body experience just so I could relieve myself from chronic pain. You see what I'm saying? I'm not trying to meet my ancestors and my higher self just because I have lower abdominal pains. It's not that deep. I'd rather meet my ancestors in my dreams. And I also feel like I'm afraid to try something like that. And eventually I want to. Eventually I would like to experience some psychoactive stuff, because I think it's just for the experience. But I'm also afraid because what does that do to yourself mentally? Does it trigger some underlying mental illness that you may not have realized you had in your family, and somehow you playing around with something that is psychoactive triggers that, and now boom, the bipolar that you never realized you had now is showing? That's what scares me, because look, we don't know what we have underlying. I don't want to speak that over me, but I think sometimes there's something going on mentally with me, and that I've noticed in one of my parents. I'm not gonna be specific, but that I noticed in one of them that I fear, what if I played around with something that is psychoactive, what if that triggers a mental illness that I didn't realize I had, right? What if that triggers it? And next thing you know, I'm bipolar. Next thing you know, I'm schizo. I already talk to myself all the time. I remember one time I was, I think it was my first session with my therapist. And he had me fill out something that like asks, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself? And like there's different questions. One of the questions is, or different statements, and you'll 10 being you completely agree with the statement, 1 being, or 0 being like completely not, right? And one of the statements was, you talk to yourself, I talk to myself a lot when I'm alone. And I was like, yeah, 10 out of 10. And there, for every question that I answered over 7, like over the 7 mark, he would ask me again to confirm if this is exactly, is this true? Like, is this something that you really want to stand on? There's no right or wrong answer to it, but he just wants to confirm, to check in. And I said, oh, yeah, it's absolutely true. And he's like, oh, every time? I'm like, absolutely. Like, as soon as I'm not talking to you right now and you're out the room, it's a conversation with Maxine. Like, I'm checking in with myself. And I don't know if he was judging me in that moment. I don't know if I should even put that upon him. He's my therapist. But I think, though, maybe that's something, maybe that's something that's underlying in me that could be revealed in a mental illness type of way if I play with something that is psychoactive on a consistent basis. What if it messes up my mental, and so I say all this to say, I think it's like dangerous when we just go down these pools of, I'm going to have ayahuasca every 3 days, or I'm going to take PCP every weekend, or I'm going to fuck up my brain cells and then wonder why I can't hold down a job and wonder why I'm banging my head against a wall and wonder why I'm not so anyway. I'm going to do more research because I really would like to try something that is like of the earth, but that does not take me out of my body. Like, I'm not trying to get out. I want to stay here. I just want to like calm down sometimes. I just want to be at peace. Just like in my body. Sometimes just like I'm tapping a lot, or my mind is racing a lot, and I just want to like let's like kind of like be in the water. I want to feel like I'm in the water. But I don't want to feel like I'm in the water and then I have like 10 dead people around me because now I've accessed the spiritual realm that I didn't mean to access. Like, it's just like too fucking much. Too much. Be Simone. How did we get to it? But yeah, I think ultimately, like, we lost this whole idea of respecting the dead. Like, we lost this idea of, may he rest in peace. Instead of respecting the dead, she's going in so hard on, he cheated on his wife. So, like, can we like give it a rest? I'm tired of this word cheating. I'm tired of like this whole focus on, well, if he's not a good husband, then he can't be a good, why can't he? Like, two things can be true. You may not have been the best husband, the best partner, right? But you was a damn good father, right? Like, you was present on all the games. You were active in their lives. You was an active father. You wasn't one of those fathers who just provided and didn't have any emotional depth to you. Like, you was a solid guy. So to like come off like, oh, well, because he cheated on his wife, that means he's a horrible person through and through. He wasn't a good worker. He wasn't a good son. He wasn't a good brother. He wasn't good at all. Like, okay. It's pretty linear. It's pretty demented. And, I'm sorry that she feels that way. And it's just unfortunate because you have, like, so many examples of people living that she could have used this argument for. But instead, you're in an industry where she's going to be around these people at some point or another, and she probably doesn't want to like ruffle any feathers. Like, she could have talked about Jay-Z, right? She could have talked about Jay-Z who admitted, right? Like, at least Martin Luther King Jr. didn't admit to cheating on his wife. That wasn't a focus point. Again, he didn't put much light to it. We just know about it because J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI and the CIA all were tapping his every move, his every conversation. So that's how we figured that out, because they revealed it to us. But it wasn't something that was a confession from him specifically. As with the Jay-Z, he confessed, right? He not only did he confess in his songs and his music, but he confessed very directly in an interview, in a couple of interviews. So like there was nothing you could misconstrue from that. It was definitely clear, I cheated on Beyonce. Okay, so why can't we focus on him instead? You know, so I think there's an agenda there too. Like she would dare not say anything poorly about him, Jay-Z, because she's in that field where she could potentially come across him, and he could potentially take away any opportunities that she may be working on. And so it's a clout thing. Like, I'm not gonna say anything on Jay-Z, but I'm gonna speak on MLK. Right? And this outrage media and this currency that people receive for being outrageous in their takes is a way to come up, is a way to gain more exposure, is a way to be more seen and gain more attention. So anyway, again, I think we should just can we just stop, 2022, can we just stop using the word cheating? Like, it's just old at this point. Just like people, you got to stop saying, what's the word? I'll table that. We'll circle back. Like, let's leave cheating over there too. the word. Okay, guys, I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for listening. Again, we are on twice a week now, in case you haven't gotten the memo, in case you missed the last episode, which aired on Friday, because that's our second episode of the week date. We premiere on Tuesday, as you guys already know, and now we're also premiering on Friday. So Tuesday and Friday, check out another episode of God Built This Podcast this Friday coming up, and I will check in with you guys then. Thank you so much for listening. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of God Built This Podcast with your host, Maxine. Be sure to leave a review, give me 5 stars, and of course, subscribe. Also, follow God Built This Podcast on Instagram at God Built This Pod. God bless.